Okay, Rachel, welcome to the call.
Thanks, Eric.
Firstly, congratulations on finding a tenant.
Thank you.
It's
I'm
really
very
good
excited
news.
about
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about the tenant that you got for your property too.
We got a few applications in, and one of them was a lady who is a single mother. So I just thought immediately, like, let's get her in. She's already got enough to look after. She's working full time. I think she just got a promotion this week as well, which is, great
Excellent.
news for her. And she's got a dog, so I'm totally fine with pets because
Right.
I have pets of my own. So they'll be moving
Yep.
in next Friday.
Big backyard for a dog as well.
It's perfect. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. Morally, I feel like it was
You got young
a good
kids
decision.
or
Just one.
just the one? How old?
I did not ask,
Okay, all right.
but
Oh, that's all good.
they should have plenty of space in the 3 bedrooms.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks again for coming on the call. As I mentioned before, the purpose of this call is just for us to chat about your experience working with me. And it's also an opportunity for you to share what you liked about our experience, what you didn't like, and what I can do better next time.
Oh, sure.
So,
You did a great job.
thank you. So just to begin with, tell us a little bit more about yourself, Rachel, and what made you get started with investing.
Sounds good. Thanks, Eric. A little bit about me, working professional, been working for the last 15 years of my life. I had one investment property to start with, and I was really fortunate that, it accrued enough equity to basically use that to purchase a second investment property.
Yep.
I didn't initially really understand, how to invest in property and what that long-term plan looked like. So I was, when I decided to do it, I was still quite a deer in the woods, not really sure where to start, what to do, what it meant. And it was all a little bit intimidating at first. I just knew I had available equity and some money that I could invest into growing my wealth. So I looked into many different options, including like stocks, ETFs, and then also speaking to a few buyers agents as well about investing that in property.
Yeah, okay, cool. So your first property that you bought, did you buy that through a buyer's agent?
No, that was through the help of my parents. We did that together, and they found the property. So that was very, very straightforward, really, compared to doing it yourself, doing it on your own.
Okay. So I guess, you were looking to buy your second property. Did you ever think about, doing it yourself again?
Absolutely not. Like, I feel like it's such a complex, I think it's made complicated, but the process itself seems quite straightforward. But I was really busy at the time, working quite a lot, and I had a lot of other priorities that I wanted to focus on rather than learning to upskill in an area that I had zero idea about. So
you bought the first one on your own? Yeah.
I feel like I've forgotten that. That was like 6 years ago, and I really didn't have as much involvement or say in where I was buying or what I was doing as I did this time around.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I just wanted to get someone who I could trust, who I felt comfortable with, who could educate me, and someone who knew the market and also the process much better than I ever could in the time that I had.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I guess, you did mention you spoke with a couple of other buyers agents. Just tell me about the process that you went to just research who to work with.
Yeah, I got recommended a few people by some friends who are also in the property market game. Got recommended by my banker as well, who approved the loan because he obviously works with a few people in that space. And then I reached out to yourself as well because I saw that you had just posted and announced that you were doing that. And I just remember you being an awesome human. So I thought, serendipitous, let's all, throw it out and meet with everyone and see what's what. I found that process quite uncomfortable because, I know it's the right thing to do, right? To get quotes and to speak to people and get the right experience. But as a woman, I think sometimes you feel pressured or you feel like you should be giving back to people who've given you their time. And the process wasn't uncomfortable from however anyone else behaved. I think just from my point of view, I just felt like, if I meet with this person, do they expect me to say yes? And, I felt that kind of pressure from myself.
I know what you mean, especially like sometimes I'm not necessarily in my industry, but just any other industry, I don't I always feel hesitant to take other people's time for a consultation and then feel obligated to give back to them. Or sometimes I feel a little bit uncomfortable because I know that I'm going to be put into a sales process and they're going to have a sales script and then they're going to try and, you know, close me, for lack of a better word. And I just don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation, especially if I'm just kind of putting the feelers out there and wanting to learn more. And then it just becomes a little bit awkward. So, and that's why I think for me, what I've always tried to do with this business is just have chats with people and let them know up front that there's no obligation, whether they want to work with me or not. It's just a chat for them to ask any questions. I'll answer any questions of them. And if they do want to have a proper conversation, then we'll set up some more time.
Totally. And I think that is the best approach. And, you know, not saying that any of the people I spoke to pressured me or made me feel like I had to. They also said things like, you know, obviously do it on your own time, do what makes you happy. There's no pressure at all whatsoever. But yeah, that was, you know, a little nerve-wracking to start with. But I think what I gained from speaking to a lot of people, that, you know, it seemed quite sound. But what I was looking for was probably someone that I felt like I could really be a part of the process with, and not just sitting and waiting for a property to appear and then it all goes on without me. So education part of it as well. Like I wanted to learn what was going on and what we should be looking at. And so in the end, I decided to go with you because it just felt right. And I felt like you would be the kind of person who would take the time to really explain, look out for me, which ended up being incredibly true, much more than I could have even imagined. You know, having someone by your side who's thinking ahead to be like, oh, make sure you speak to your solicitor about this, or think about, you know, your rental market, think about the opportunities in the long term for unlocking more equity. Just these really strategic ways of thinking, and also taking the time to map out, what am I doing? Like, why am I buying this property, and what's it going to look like in 10 years time? I think that kind of consideration and thoughtful planning was really stand out and really built a lot of trust.
Yeah, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. I mean, yeah, I know that through my own experience buying property for myself, it is a big purchase, and there's a lot of things to consider. You know, like due diligence, suburb selection, what's the right property, and I find it very rare that there is a perfect property. There are always pros and cons, and I think it's important to be able to talk through those pros and those cons and weigh up that decision together, because ultimately I'm the one finding a property for you. You're the one who's going to own the property. So the last thing I want is for me to just bring a property to you and say, look, just sign the paper and it'll be good. I want to make sure that you are fully aware of all the pros, all the cons, and feel empowered to make that decision without any pressure. So that was the experience that I wanted, because when I go through buying property for myself, I always consider these things. And when I'm doing it for a client such as yourself, I want to make sure that you are going through that journey and you are going through that thinking with me and able to make that decision for yourself as well with my guidance. Yeah.
Totally. That was actually the word I was thinking of before you even said it. Was empowering. Like, it, you know, you let the decision be mine finally, but you gave me all the facts and you gave me your recommendation. But you let the decision rest with me in terms of, you know, you wanted to make sure I fully understood the pros and cons of each property, pros and cons of each process, and then make that decision, rather than exactly like you said, like, here's one, trust me, it's really good. Yeah, just trust me. Yeah, this is the one, trust me, you know. Then you're kind of giving that power away, because you're like, okay, well, they said it's good. I don't really know why it's good.
I think that's really important, especially when you work with a buyer's agent. Of course, you're trusting them, but I still think, like, even though you put your trust in me, I don't want to just be like, just sign it, trust me. Like, because you are going to own it at the end of the day, and you need to be fully aware of everything, just like how I would want to be fully aware of anything as if I was buying it for myself. And that's what I was trying to do for you. But I know that, you know, there are some people who don't want to have that kind of experience. They just want to say, look,
find it.
I don't want to hear from you. Just call me up when you've got a property and I'll sign the paper. And I thought, fair enough, but I don't know. Like, it's not my style. I try I mean, because if I was a client, I would want to know the details, and that's why I tried to do the same thing for you.
Yeah, and I think that's really a great value to know as well, because that means you will get the type of clients that you want to get, and you won't be attracting those type of people who are like, whatever,
Yeah,
just do your thing, I don't care. You
yeah,
want people to be involved and aware and know exactly what they're signing up for. And
yeah,
another thing that I think you did really well was just, I don't think I could have done it without you going through that whole process without, in some aspect, you took the time to explain to me, like, what does this pre-agreement look like signing the contract before you putting in an offer, reviewing things, reviewing all the annexures that you had to read,
yeah,
understanding all the building and pests, and how I basically said, oh yeah, no major defects, and realized that there were major defects. All of that would have been quite a choppy and stressful experience, I think, unless we had that guidance and expert knowledge, and your experience really, really helped through that. Plus, not even just your experience, but your relationships with these people, because you had already built relationships with the people who were helping. And I know you had no commercial gain from them. There was no commission from them. It was just good human networking and relationship that you had already developed with them professionally. So that
yeah.
was super helpful, that I had almost a team of people really willing to help me out. Like the property managers who knew you and liked you wanted to help me out. The building and pest guys wanted to help me out because they knew you. And it just made such a difference.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that was one thing that we were very fortunate to have because, yeah, they were my team. They were my team of property managers and who manage my properties, and they were also my team of building and pest inspectors who helped me with my purchases. So, yeah, I was really glad that I could actually work with my personal team for you. Well, I was glad that you could work with my personal team, and I could actually vouch for them as well because I knew that they were good. Yeah.
It's like everyone wins, like there was such a good feeling about all the people I dealt with. And especially when I contrast it to the solicitor app that I engaged, right? Instead of going with one of like your solicitors or someone that we knew, it's honestly like talking to a robot. They got the job done, but I didn't know when they were going to get back to me. I didn't
Yeah.
know what they were trying to say. It just felt like I was talking to Chat GPT, because there was no human experience in that, even though there was probably a great human behind it.
Yep.
I was thinking about this the other day. I don't feel like I would appreciate this kind of process being automated. I don't want it to be, digital, all digital. I think it really did need that human touch for a big purchase like a property. Maybe because I'm a beginner, but I just really appreciated the constant communication, the check-in with links, the check-in with updates on, where the offer was, where were you in the process of speaking to the PMs for inspections. I think that over communication was a great way for me to feel part of the process and in the loop.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember messaging you throughout the process and saying, hey, look, I know I'm messaging you a lot and giving you a lot of updates. Are you cool with this? Or would you like me to tone it back a bit? Because I can. That was how I wanted to work, but I did want to make sure that you were okay as well. Because I know you're super busy and I don't want to be messaging you all day. So, yeah, I wanted to make sure that you only hear from me as much as you want to hear from me.
Yeah, and I that was really considerate of you to do that as well, and just to check in and be like, is it too much, too little? Like, let me know. But I
Yeah,
think you're really good at giving just the important information. You weren't like, hey, look, the grass is growing over here. You were very much like, this is a property that's just come on the market. It's this price. I think it's worth this value. Have a quick look. Do you want me to go ahead? So it was
yeah,
always quite succinct, and it had a purpose. And
yeah.
usually there was like an outcome you were looking for by messaging me. It wasn't just like, here's some stuff. And through working with you, I now understand property is purchased on the weekend. So after hours on the weekends is kind of when moving and when things are happening. So I appreciated even those extra hours of work from yourself, not even worrying about like, are you contacting me too much, but you're also working at those times. So
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
Yeah. No worries. Thank you so much for that. I do want to take it back because you mentioned that you spoke to a few other experienced buyers agents who are obviously more experienced than me, but you chose to go with me, right? Knowing that I was new. Was my experience a point of hesitation at all for you?
Absolutely. That was probably my biggest point of hesitation, is that, it's a big purchase, and it was your first job, and it is a risk. It is an unknown, but I think what ticked me over the line, and was obviously speaking to experienced buyers who had well established themselves, well past the point of their career where they even needed to advertise per se. They were just known in the field and had great track records. So it was a big. I did have to sit with that for maybe a week or so, as you probably know, where I was deciding whether to go with someone who was a bit more experienced, who was reliable, versus someone who was also reliable but potentially had no professional experience doing it yet. I think what tipped me over in the end is probably just gut feel, and knowing that I would be in good hands with you, and knowing that I would have a lot more hands-on education and being part of the journey with you yourself than with another buyer's agent. And I just knew, even if that property was, I would feel more worried about that property, even though it's from someone with a lot of experience, just because I felt like that whole process would end up with me not knowing or learning anything new, and just being told, this is a good property, you should buy it.
Yeah.
I felt like that would come with more stress than if I, felt comfortable to ask you anything, anytime. What does this mean? What do you think? What do you reckon? And to know that, even though you don't have professional experience, you have bought property for yourself, like 7 or 8. That in itself shows that you know what you're doing, and you're just taking a step. And I think because I was starting my own business and you were starting yours, I just thought, I know how hard I work, and I just wanted to take that chance on you as well, because I think you were the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that there was so much that went into it. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. You said that, yeah, you had a gut feel that you'd be in good hands with me. Was there anything that happened during the first few consultations
Yeah.
that made you feel that way, or throughout
Yeah.
our?
You were just very patient from the day dot. Like, I think our first kickoff was scheduled for an hour, and when you don't know if someone's going to sign with you, and you've taken the time to put together, like, I know spreadsheets are relatively easy to put together, but you've put together some thought, some ideas of what it could look like, taking into consideration my current property, interest rates, and you're just very patient with answering all my questions, and especially fears. I wasn't sure if using equity loan was going to be the best way,
Yeah.
because I'd be just paying so much interest. And um, I was a bit spooked at first, thinking, is property the right path for me? But yeah, you just made it really patient, took the time to answer questions about fears, and throughout the whole process, you were like, no obligation, no pressure to work with me or not. Decide what's right for you. Here's my approach, and I found that very trustworthy.
Oh, thank you. I actually I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing by that way or not, because I'm not really into sales or anything like that. And I just thought the best way to do it is to actually give value, answer as many questions as possible, consult, and give you my recommendation for, if you were to work with me, this is what my strategy would be. These are the types of properties that I would recommend for your situation. And if it's a fit, then you can tell me that you'd like to work with me. But if you're looking for something else, and if that's not what I can give, then it's best for both of us that, you find someone else that could give you exactly what you're looking for. So I'm glad that resonated with you.
And you know what? Beyond the property win itself, it was like personal development for me. And I walked away from our experience feeling really confident about myself. Like, I know you did a lot of the heavy lifting, and I know that a lot of it was you, but I felt so proud of myself for even engaging you, even taking the time to learn from you, even like sitting down, reading all those contracts at like 9 p.m. at night, when it was the last thing I wanted to do, and it wasn't something you could skim read either. You had to be like, at this time and place. So at the end of it, I felt really good about myself and our interaction and the whole process itself. So it really boosted my confidence in myself as a human.
It's really good to hear. I know I'm the buyer's agent and I bought the property for you, but it is just as much about you as it was me helping you. I'm just there to help guide you, but ultimately you're the one buying the property.
You did like so much of the work. You're like, oh wait, don't forget to do this. Don't forget to check in with this lister and get this sorted. Don't. And I was like, I completely forgot to do that. Don't forget.
But that's what we're here for. That's what my job is, because a lot of us only buy maybe one property in our lifetime, maybe two or three. So it's not like we'll know exactly what to do. And that's why I think, having someone like myself help walk you through that process can be quite valuable. And that's what I wanted to make sure you were aware of.
Yeah. And I loved it because you passed on all your wisdom, not even just beyond getting the job done, but you're like, oh, this way will get you a better result. Make sure you do this. Make sure that you compare quotes. Make sure you ask for multiple quotes. Make sure you focus on the only, like, what needs to be done before the tenants move in. There's just so much care and consideration that goes into it.
After settlement, right?
After settlement, yeah.
I'll just wrap up with one more question. Tell me, what did you like overall about the experience?
It's very human, very supportive, very educational, and very empowering. The whole process was just really fun, to be honest. Like, it's just like shopping for houses, but I didn't feel pressured. I felt really considered because you understood what I was trying to achieve, what kind of financial goals I was hitting, what kind of property I wanted, what my strategy was. So it was really, really fun. I think the most tiring part of it is probably just reading those contracts. That's probably the least fun part of it. But other than that, connecting with you, connecting with the great people you've put me in touch with, connecting, you with my people, like just building those contacts was really, really fun.
And was there anything I could have done differently? Okay.
I can't think of anything that you could have done better. I feel like it was a really stand-up, top-notch experience, and I would 100% do it again.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate your feedback, and it was, right back at you. It was a really good experience. I really enjoyed working with you, and I can't wait to